Hundreds, if not thousands, of children were forcibly adopted under the East German regime. Many of the families affected have kept silent for decades. But Daniela Lehmann has finally decided to speak out, shortly before leaving Germany, perhaps for good. She says she's never felt at home here. When Daniela was 2 years old, her brother René vanished. She's still searching for him today.
Ich weiß seit frühester Kindheit, dass es ihn gibt.
I've known since my early childhood that he exists. And since then, he's always lived in my heart. Ever since I've known about him, I've constantly been looking for him. I've always spoken to him and embraced him in my thoughts. For me, he's always in my heart.
Regina Vaupel is Daniela's mother. In the late 1960s, she received a surprise visit from some officials from the State Children's Welfare Agency. They told Regina she didn't have the resources to raise a second child. They said her apartment was too small, and that at just 20, she was too young to handle the responsibility. They put repeated pressure on Regina to give the baby up, until she finally relented.
Wenn man dir jeden Tag letzten Endes erzählt,
when someone tells you every day that there are no suitable apartments for you, no nurseries, nothing, and you'll have a terrible time trying to raise the kids, you start thinking you don't want to subject them to that. In the end, you always want to do what's best for your children.
Since 1969, René's fate has remained a mystery. For the mothers of the missing children, it's practically impossible to find out where they are. Germany's strict adoption laws prohibit the authorities from providing information to either birth parents or adoptive parents. To try and find René, Renata and Daniela have turned to a special website that helps families trace children forcibly removed. The website was initiated by Katrin Baer. Baer was also the victim of a forced adoption. When she was 4 years old, she was separated from her mother. She's well acquainted with cases like René's. The East German authorities disapproved of families that they considered to be unconventional or unstable, particularly unmarried couples with children. Single mothers were put under enormous pressure to give up their babies.
Aus der Angst heraus
Out of fear, the mothers signed the papers. The problem is, the documents have the mothers' signatures on them, but they don't tell us why the mothers agreed. Of course, you won't find any notes made by former staff testifying to the fact that the women were emotionally blackmailed.
keine Notizen finden, dass irgendein damaliger Mitarbeiter geschrieben haben, wir haben sie erpresst.
The East German state treated children like government property, as was evident when the Berlin Wall went up in 1961. People who fled to the West often had to leave their children behind. The East German government refused to let the children join their parents and used the situation for propaganda purposes.
Their parents betrayed the Republic and left them behind. Our government will replace their mothers and fathers for them.
People caught planning to flee the country, and people who refused to cooperate with the East German secret police were also at risk of losing their children. Regina Vaupel found herself victimized a second time. Just years after she lost René, she was forced to spy on an acquaintance. The Stasi threatened to take Daniela away if she refused.
Dann stehen zwei Herren vor der Tür und die sagen dir eigentlich
Two men came to my door. They told me in official-sounding voices what was required of me. Then they said they had ways and means of ensuring that things would go as they wanted.
Dass diese Dinge auch so funktionieren, wie wir das möchten.
They ended by saying, "You've got a child."
Sie haben ja ein Kind.
Fearful of losing her daughter as well, Regina provided the man with the desired information. Although eager to maintain a clear conscience, she changed the facts. She was able to hold on to Daniela, but she didn't get René back.
I used to write a lot. At some point I found some old writings of mine and I realized that I'd actually written them for my brother. I've still got them.
Daniela and her mother hope they'll be able to find out what happened to René. In the past 3 years, Catherine Baer and her tracing service have helped bring 160 families back together. Shortly after reunification, Baer also found her own mother.